Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Today, I'll be taking a look at Palworld version 1.0, which was released yesterday, July 9th, as of this recording. Currently sitting at 5,690 reviews, which are very positive. And then overall, overwhelmingly positive review with 154,207 reviews total. Developed and published by Pocket Pair. So this game is currently priced at $21. I'm guessing it's in early access, but there are different pricing. You can bundle it with Winrose and other titles that they've released. So as far as like the recommended system requirement, the game does recommend the i5-12400 or Ryzen 5 5600X. System memory 32 gigabytes in total. Graphics card the RTX 3060 Ti or the RX 700 XT. The X11 version, 40 gigabyte storage space SSD recommended. It's always good. I'm always happy to see the X11. From my, overall years of extensive testing, the X11 is far more stable than the X12. It tends to incur less stutter and overall just higher GPU usage and just overall just higher average and average FPS, 0.1% low FPS, 1% low FPS. It's just better than the X12. So I'm glad to see that included. I'm going to take a look at the settings page and then hop into the game and see how it performs. Keep in mind that I have the latest Nvidia driver installed, which was released Tuesday, July 7, driver version 610.74. And this video will be recorded using Nvidia ShadowPlay. So, whatever you see during the performance overlay test, just add an additional 5 FPS. Nvidia ShadowPlay tends to incur roughly 5 FPS loss, sometimes more depending on this game. So without further ado, let's take a look at the performance. And here I am in the main menu of Palworld. This game does not have a shaded pre-compilation process, which is absolutely fantastic and a breath of fresh air in 2026, which makes sense. This is a DirectX 11 title. So DX12 tends to incur shaded pre-compilation and sometimes Vulkan. So looking at the options menu, the graphical preset, I made changes to it, but by default, the screen mode defaults to borderless. You also have windowed, but I always choose full screen or exclusive full screen when available. VSync is turned off, motion blur turned off. And this looks like, this is an Unreal Engine title. So you have temporal super resolution, blurry TAA, FXAA, or none. So this is kind of hard. I will go with FXAA, fast approximate anti-aliasing, which is the lesser of the two evil. TAA is a blurry mess, and so is TSR. So FXAA it is. I wish they had MSAA, multi-sampling anti-aliasing, or CMAA, or SMAA, which are much cleaner than all these options available. But I'll take FXAA. Everything else set to epic, and I have blurry fake pixel DLSS turned off, and Nvidia Reflex low latency. I always turn off this abomination. It tends to incur stutters from my experience. Field of view, it goes as low as 70, but by default it defaults to 75. I always set that to 90. Vertical field of view, it does have that available, but I turned that off. It doesn't seem to do anything. Camera shake, turn that off. Right camera distance, I set that to the default of 1. I'm not sure what that does. View ally pals auras, kept that on. I'm not entirely sure what that does, but anyway, do keep in mind that this game has support for DX12. So upon launching the game through Steam, you do get the option to select DX12. I will be testing that momentarily, comparing DX11 to DX12. So here I am comparing DX11 to DX12. As you can see, DX11, like I said earlier, it's just a far superior API compared to DX12. It's far more stable and far more mature. There's a lot less stuttering, and it's just a much pleasant experience. Look at the average FPS is roughly almost 20 FPS higher on utilizing DX11 compared to DX12. This is just the case. Like, it's just stuttering all over the place, shaded pre-compilation with DX12. And on top of that, when you add DX12 with Unreal Engine 5, it's an absolute recipe for disaster. This is why most Unreal Engine 5 games tend to run like shit. DX12 is already bad enough as it is, and then on top of that, you have DX12 Unreal Engine 5, which is the worst gaming engine in history. This is why I tend to avoid Unreal Engine 5 games, or when a game supports DX11, 99% of the time I always choose DX11 over DX12. You don't have to go through lengthy shaded pre-compilation process. and then the frame time, the frame pacing is a lot more stable. And mind you, keep in mind that the DX12 version, this is after I played played the game under using DX11. So I'm sure it would have been a lot worse if I hadn't if I didn't start the game originally with DX11 and then hopped into you started the game using DX12, because as new assets are introduced, as new shaders are introduced, the game will stutter even more. And also, if you notice that there's a lot severe pop-in using DX12, I'm not sure what's going on there. I understand this game doesn't utilize any of the Unreal Engine 5 spaghetti code like Nanite Lumen, VSM, virtual shadow mapping, which is good. This is why I'm able to run this game at native resolution. And you can see DX11 I'm at 70 FPS average, 0.1% low at 30, as opposed to DX12, which is 0.1% low is 5 FPS. That is absolutely terrible. I mean, absolutely borderline unplayable. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see the game running decently. Now, just to talk about the game itself, it kind of reminds me of Pokemon, Mew and Mewtwo from way back when I don't know, I used to watch that way back when. But yeah, it sort of has this Pokemon aesthetic vibe to it, which is cool, which is charming. But overall, the performance, it could be better. The visuals could be better. I just wish, more game studios would stay away from Unreal Engine 5. It is an absolute disaster, a joke of an engine. With this kind of visuals, this looks like a Nintendo GameCube game, this looks like Super Mario Sunshine, to be honest. And the performance should be much, much better than this. But, it's 2026. What can I say? I'll take what I can get. I mean, at least I'm above 60 FPS most of the time. And this is native resolution, not using any fake pixel DLSS upscaler. But anyway, I do think the performance definitely could be much, much better. But the game, as far as like resource utilization, it is pretty decent. VRAM usage is under 8 gigabytes. So even if you have the legendary GTX 1060, you'll be well under the VRAM usage of 6 gigabyte. But obviously, you're gonna have to turn down settings even at 1080p, because I'm sure this game is more demanding than that. You can see by the recommended specs when I mentioned that. And then as far as like system RAM usage, is well under 16 gigabytes. So if you have a 16 gigabyte system memory, you should do just fine. I'm not sure why the game recommended 32 gigabyte. That's a little bit excessive. But yeah, well under 16 gigabyte. CPU usage, hovering in the 20s, 30s, high 20s, low 30s. Wattage, it's a little bit higher under DX11 compared to DX12. Yeah, but overall, it's okay. The game itself, I think it's okay. It doesn't really explain its mechanics too well. There's not a lot of hand holding. You will have to figure out some things here and there, which is fine, but this is one of those games where I have a busy lifestyle, so I don't have a lot of time to sink hundreds of hours into. It's nice to test games like this every once in a while, but as far as like me actually sinking hundreds of hours, I don't intend to. This is just a fun test benchmark. Do it for the audience, people, subscribers. They tend to enjoy seeing things like this. So yeah, this game seems popular. So yeah, I mean, if you have equivalent hardware, the RTX 2080 Ti, 3070 Ti, the what is it? The on the Radeon side, the RX 6800, and or the RTX 5060 Ti. Yeah, I'm sure this game will run well on your machine as well. So you wouldn't worry about any VRAM limitations. But yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say here about the performance. Like I said, it could be better. It certainly could be a lot better, with the visuals on hand. But I've certainly seen worse, especially Unreal Engine 5 title. This is probably the top 5 best performing Unreal Engine 5 game I've played in 2026. So if this is what this game can do using Unreal Engine 5, I mean, hey, I don't know what version of UE5 is using, but hey, it could be a lot worse. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with the rest of the benchmark performance. So take a look. If you like what you see in this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Take care.